Hello everyone, I'm Penny Thornton and I'm here to talk about the Sagittarius season. Now the Sun enters Sagittarius every year around about the 21st of November, and it remains going through the sign of Sagittarius through until about the 20th of December. So if you're born at that time, you know you're a Sagittarian. But I suppose everyone's tempted to think, well, what does that have to do with me? I'm a Cancer, I'm a Pisces, so what does the Sun in Sagittarius have to do with me? Well, of course, Sagittarius is somewhere in your natal chart, and it's obviously somewhere in your solar chart. And so it is as this time, as the Sun moves through Sagittarius, that area of your horoscope is lit up like a Christmas tree. And in fact, that's quite a good analogy because the time of Sagittarius takes or occupies that period where we seem to be enjoying ourselves a great deal. Maybe not in the year of the coronavirus, but technically every year as the Sun passes through Sagittarius, the American Thanksgiving occurs. And of course, it's that pre-run up to Christmas when everybody's holding parties and shopping and enjoying the kind of buzz of Christmas to come. And that's very Sagittarian. Plus, especially when you think about these two periods, these two festivities, they involve travel, people going to special places or going to their family. There's a lot of eating and drinking and a lot of good times going on. And that really is very Sagittarian. But this particular time that the Sun is moving through Sagittarius is really special this year. And the reason is that there are two eclipses, a lunar eclipse on the 30th of November and a total solar eclipse on the 14th of December. And of course, the eclipses always happen on what we call the nodal axis. That's the point where the moon's nodes intersect with the sun's apparent path. It's the only place where eclipses can happen. So at the moment, since May, the north node has been in Gemini, the south node in Sagittarius, which is what has made these two signs in particular really front and center of some of the more important developments, well, of your lives, but also in terms of things that have happened on the world stage as well. That whole Sagittarius Gemini theme has been incredibly strong. So let's have a look at the lunar eclipse first on the 30th of November. This is an eclipsed full moon. And if you think about a full moon, it's the point at which the sun and the moon are at their furthest distance from each other. They're as far and far away as you could get. It's like anything, there's nothing more, nothing further. And which is one of the reasons we get this theme of closure and completion. With full moons, we get this idea of endings, the end of chapters. Something is done and dusted. And from that full moon point, in this case, the lunar eclipse, another couple of weeks in the waning cycle, the moon returns and is coming closer and closer to the sun, which of course it meets at new moon on the 14th of December, which is a total solar eclipse. So if you were born on the 30th of any month, you are really in the sights of this lunar eclipse. So that theme of endings, that theme of winding things down, which of course is a good thing to get your mind around, that you can think, I should be ending these activities now, doing other things. It's a time of closure. But also, especially with an eclipse, stuff just happens. So things end. Maybe it's not as dramatic as a job ends or a relationship ends, but it may. And sometimes these things are out of our hands. And certainly on an eclipse, their power to make a really big impact on our lives is particularly strong. And I think, of course, having said the 30th or the 29th or 31st, 1st of a month, those birthdays are very much in the lines of this lunar eclipse. We might also be looking specifically at those of you born on the 30th of February, the 30th of May, the 30th of August, and of course the 30th of November. Now, if we bring this down a little bit and we start to look at signs in general, if we think about November, the sun is in Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Gemini. That's where the moon is on that lunar eclipse. So we have this theme of endings really related to things to do with relationships in particular. When we think about a full moon, we think about a polarity and we think about balance. We think about trying to balance opposites. So for both Sagittarius and Gemini, there are relationships in the spotlight here. And perhaps part of it is this idea of finding your individuality and your independence, which is essential. We are all of us individuals, we are all independent. But there's that whole kind of dance of a relationship about how much independence you can have in a relationship and how much you need to blend your wishes, your needs, and blend your life, in fact, with another person's. So that's the theme going on, particularly for Sagittarius and Gemini at this time, and really especially so if you're born on the 30th of your months. Now, if we look at the other signs who are front of the queue here, we're looking at Pisces and Virgo. And we're looking here at the 4th, 10th house axis. And so this is about the axis of life direction and career on the one hand, and it's about home, the roots of life, the foundations of the future on the other. So that's where this dance is happening. And that's where the balance needs to be struck. So we could say very simply that this lunar eclipse is about the work-life balance. So consciously, by embracing that and thinking, you know, am I in balance, or am I getting a lot of problems in one area because there's too much time spent there and not enough there? It's a very simple kind of exercise to do. But of course, we're talking about an eclipse. So we're going to be talking about events that happen at that time. So we're looking at things that might close a chapter for you, whether it's a house move or changes of family members, some people in the home perhaps moving house, or changes, marriages, births, those kind of things happening within the family circle that then changes the pattern of life and throws into perspective, where am I going? What, you know, where am I headed in life? Or it could be the other way around. So you're looking at things happening in your career, perhaps a change of job, or maybe the end of a job, even retirement, for instance. And so that is how that impacts on your home life as well. So we're looking at those 4 signs in particular, and I promise I'll come to the others in a minute. But of course, the next thing I want to talk about, and remember, with this new moon, full moon cycle, we're looking at endings and beginnings, because in order to make a new beginning, we have to close things off. Things have to finish. That's what the new moon, full moon cycle is all about in general. And it's in super technicolor when we get to eclipses. So again, if you're born around the 14th of your month, any month, you know, in the middle of that month, 14th, 15th, but particularly if you were born on the 14th of March, the 14th of June, the 14th of September, and the 14th of December, then you really are being picked up, or the sun in your own chart is being picked up by this solar eclipse, and it's activating it very, very strongly. So again, if we look at this total solar eclipse for Sagittarians, this is right in your kitchen. This is you, this is your personal life, your ambitions, your personal life, even your image. But it's related to that full moon eclipse. So we're still in the area of relationships. For Gemini, absolutely. That total solar eclipse is in the area of relationships. So we're looking at things to do with new people coming into your life, or the effect or the impact of people having on your life. That's what that total solar eclipse is about. When we think about Pisces, we're right in the 10th house. So we are here in the area of career, your status in life, you know, how you see your future unfolding, who you want to be, where you want your life to go. So the solar eclipse will change something in regard to that. And of course, it will throw up, as I've just explained, everything to do with the home and the family. Now, if we look at the opposite sign for Virgo, we've got that total solar eclipse in the 4th house. Could this indicate a new member of the family coming in who'll certainly change the family dynamic? Come in by marriage, could come in by birth. But again, of course, that affects your whole outlook, your whole outlook on life. Now, one of the things that I wanted to look at just before I get into all you other signs who I may appear to have missed is this idea and how it is working in the chart of someone we all know very, very well. I'm thinking about Donald Trump here, who is a Gemini. Not only is he a Gemini, but he has the moon in Sagittarius, and he was born on an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, with the North Node, of course, in Gemini. So this is one of the most important periods of his entire life. He's having to learn about loss. He's having to learn about letting something go. That's what he's being put through, if you like. These are the way the cards have fallen at this time. But if we look at the 14th of December and we think about at that moment, that total solar eclipse for him, all right, this total solar eclipse is occurring in his fourth house. It's tied in with relationships as well, if we look at it from a solar perspective. And that means there's a change of residents are coming in and a change of family structure here. But you know what I also think, and we can all think about this in terms of this total solar eclipse and in the sign of Sagittarius, that it is also time for a rebirth, and that what will follow any endings, or however we want to think about the events that close things down for us, is that idea at some point we will be reborn because of this. So let me take briefly the houses and the accent that we're looking in for Aries and Libra, the opposite signs. So for you Aries, the total solar eclipse is in the 9th house. For you Libra, the total solar eclipse is in the 3rd house. So we're looking at all sorts of things to do with your voice being heard. We think of the 3rd house as about writing, communicating, educating. We think of the 9th house as publishing, travel. The world is your oyster. How big can that get? So we're looking at things to have to do with the end of a particular way or a particular cycle of things to do with the written and spoken word, the things to do with your ideas and your connections to other people, even in a way to do with your community. How involved are you in your community? And what big changes will this lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse make? It may be, of course, to do with lockdown for you because communities change or community life change. And of course, when we look at the 9th house, we're looking at things in terms of big travel, your big platform in the world. How will that be changed by, let's say, the events of the coronavirus? Because those also will have a sort of a kind of fateful aura to them. They're not by your hand. They've been introduced by, left field. They've come out of left field. If we look at Cancer and Capricorn, we've got a very sensitive axis here working. We've got the 12th house and the 6th house. This is a very spiritual area of the horoscope for both Capricorn and Cancer, and the element of service comes into this. So we think about the full moon ending something, maybe ending a job or the routine way that you've lived your life. Something has happened that means you're not going to live your life in quite the same way. Things have changed in your daily round. And then we look at the 12th house, which is also about the health of mind, body, and spirit. Yet they're connected, the 6th and 12th houses. So is your health what's of concern here, in the sense that either you want to take precautions, or is it because there are other things about health matters that have come into the mix and made for changes in how you live your life and routine? But what I would also say for these two signs in particular is that idea of the balance. Remember, I talked about balance before, that full moon, the polarity. What you're striving for balance here is the balance between mind, body, and spirit. So essential to these two signs is the idea of yoga and meditation and healing, because all healing to a certain extent must involve the psyche and the heart, if you like, the core for it to then have effects on our physical bodies and our physical lives. So we come to the final group. We look at Taurus and Scorpio here, and we're looking at the 2nd and 8th houses here, first for the lunar eclipse and then for the total solar eclipse. So we're in the area of what we have. We're not just looking at possessions, but we're looking at what we have that we offer out to the world. We could be looking at finances. We could be looking at things to do with how our finances make us feel in terms of our self-esteem. So for both these signs, this full moon, new moon, eclipse, lunar, total solar eclipse is about changes in the balance of that. So we're looking at changes in your financial situation. And perhaps these are unexpected. They can be great and good. There's nothing to say that it can't be great and good, but they're changes nonetheless, and they will transform the way you perhaps live and work and, value yourself, the value you place in yourself. And I think also a new source of income, a new way of earning your money, perhaps more along the lines of an entrepreneurial route is what's wanted here, but also how people treat you. And this may be for this group, the Taurus and Scorpios, that there is a change in how people view you. Now, does that mean you're suddenly in the spotlight? And so people now look at you in a new way, you've been put in the spotlight? Or does it mean that something about your income has changed and you feel the reverse, that you've gone out of the spotlight? But remember what I said about that total solar eclipse is about rebirth. So it is about finding your way to be reborn in other areas. But finance, what you have, possessions, values, that's the key to the 2nd, 8th Taurus Scorpio group. And if we come finally to the Leo Aquarius, this here, we're looking at the 11th and 5th houses. So very much the creative axis of the horoscope. And it's so important. We look at the end of a gestation period here for both these signs, whether that gestation period is linked to a job or whether it's linked to a relationship, whether it's linked to bringing a baby into the world, whatever it is, that endings and beginnings is about preparation and delivery. And there could be some very unexpected and possibly exciting things happening in this regard to the Leo and Aquarius group. So I really need to wrap up here. I feel I'm getting faster and faster. But I think what I wanted to say really was this total solar eclipse coming as it does on the 14th of December, and it's a very, very powerful eclipse. In a matter of days after that, Saturn moves into Aquarius, Jupiter moves into Aquarius. And to my mind, this is the beginning of the entry into the new age of Aquarius, which will be a fully fledged entry by the time Pluto enters Aquarius in 2023. So I think that a lot of things that are happening on the world stage, a lot of things that are happening in our own lives, and we have to admit, every single one of us, our lives have changed. And in the process, because our lives have changed, we've changed. And that's the combination of this total solar eclipse really, and the arrival of Saturn and Jupiter into Aquarius. These two things say to each one of us, whatever sign we were born under, hello, we are ready for a new world. We have changed already, and I'm ready for that new beginning. Thank you for listening.